In the deep jungles of Mesoamerica, there once thrived a civilization so advanced that many historians consider it ahead of its time. Today, we can only witness the ruins of this once great society and wonder how it collapsed into nothing. What comes to mind when you hear about the Maya civilization? Some might say architecture, marveling at the astonishing buildings they left behind, while others think of calendars due to their deep knowledge of astronomy. Some may also mention religion or their intricate writing system. The truth is that all of these were deeply intertwined, forming a world full of wonders and mysteries. With tens of city-states at its peak and a population of over 7 million people, the Maya civilization was a true power in the Americas. Some even claim it was more advanced than many Old World civilizations of the time. That said, what do we truly know about the Maya civilization? It is widely believed that it all started as early as 2000 BCE, when hunter-gatherer nomads settled in the region, forming small agricultural villages and growing crops such as maize, squash, beans, and chili, a period also known as the early pre-classic. Upon analyzing bones from several grave sites, archaeologists found that the major component of their diet was maize, along with fish and animal meat. A slow but continuous development was just beginning to take place. Systematic field burnings, basic forms of pottery, and stone tools were some of the advancements they made in agriculture and technology during the early stages. This continued until around 1000 BCE, when the first trade routes were established and the shift to the Middle Pre-Classic period occurred. Historians believe this transition was caused by the influence of the Olmecs, an ancient civilization in the nearby area, from whom we have these 17 colossal and mysterious stone heads they left behind. Translated as rubber people, the Olmecs are known to be the first advanced Mesoamerican civilization, dating from 1200 to about 400 BCE, and responsible for most of the advancements in Maya culture over the next centuries. It was the time when the first complex cities began to form, such as Kaminaljuyu, marking the start of a revolution of progress. A northward expansion during this period allowed them to form new cities. El Mirador, Tikal, and Calakmul are due to this expansion and were highly important communities, with astounding longevity spanning millennia, pivotal in future periods. Artifacts found in Maya sites dating back to this early time give us insight into how complex this civilization was, even back then. Archaeologists commonly found ceramics, each with unique decorative styles, figurines depicting humans and deities, and bone and jade artifacts, usually jewelry or decorative objects. Obsidian tools like knives and arrowheads indicate they were engaging in warfare as early as this period. Obsidian items were very common because they often settled near the presence of a volcano. It was at this time they started to farm cacao plants, sacred in Maya culture, used in rituals, medicinal practices, and beverages. Impressive advancements in construction and architecture were made, learning how to use limestone and make stucco facades. They designed plazas, the center of the city, and built palaces, homes for the elite, while the common people lived in modest homes made of wood, thatch, and clay. To connect all of the important buildings, they designed the Sakbe, which translates to white road because it was made of stone and rubble. It all continued until 400 BCE, when the late pre-classic began. The first pyramids were raised, serving as tombs or power symbols, with small chambers built on the top, known as temples, or the god's house. The most notable structure is, without a doubt, the Pyramid of Ladanta, one of the largest pyramids in the world. The corbel arch, an architectural technique present in many civilizations across Europe, Asia, and Africa, since at least 3000 BCE, was discovered by the Maya around this time and was quickly favored, as it allowed them to replace thatch roofs with stone and became a common building practice by the Classic period. The oldest Maya inscriptions, found at the site of San Bartolo, date to the 3rd century BCE, and it is believed to celebrate the nearing of an important event, which would be the end of a time period occurring sometime between 295 and 256 BCE. It is not only the earliest evidence of writing, but also the earliest evidence of a long-count Mesoamerican calendar. However, the event it predicts is still debatable. Did you know the Maya were among the first civilizations to develop the concept of zero? Ancient Babylonian mathematicians are believed to have invented it first, around 400 BCE, followed by the ancient Maya a century later, though it was further refined and widely used during the Classic. By 100 CE, civilization flourished. The population increased dramatically and agriculture intensified. Seasonal droughts forced them to come up with creative ways to improve agriculture, leading to the invention of the Maya hydraulic systems for storing and directing water. They invented canals, irrigation systems, terracing, and chultuns, bottle-shaped underground water collectors, but more impressive were the water filtration systems, using various minerals such as zeolite and quartz to purify water. In the following 150 years, a strange event occurred known as the pre-classic collapse. It refers to a widespread abandonment of civilization and an interruption in construction, the causes of which are uncertain even to this day. The most popular theory suggests that the rapid growth of the population, combined with a severe drought, agricultural intensification, and large-scale deforestation, is the reason for this sudden collapse. It wasn't the only event of this kind in the history of the Maya civilization, as another, more famous collapse would happen at the end of the next period. The Classic period is considered by many historians as the height of the Maya civilization from any point of view. With well over 40 prosperous city-states at its peak, like Tikal, Calakmul, Palenque, and Uxmal, the Maya reached an astounding population of millions of people, with some claiming it could be as high as 13 million. Just like in the pre-Classic, they were once again influenced by a powerful society, Teotihuacan. At its apogee, it was one of the largest cities in the world and is renowned for its two colossal structures, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, resembling the nearby mountains. It was a large metropolitan area, formed in the 1st century BCE and fell in the 6th century CE, housing around 200,000 people at its height. Its impact on the Maya world cannot be questioned, and its influence can be observed with prominence in architecture. For instance, the talud tablero style, which combines a sloped section, talud, and a flat platform, tablero, creates a step-like appearance and can be seen in various buildings. Teotihuacan didn't stop there and imposed its authority, especially on Tikal, according to Stela 31, after a violent takeover in 378, and installed Siaj Kak, or Born of Fire, as king, marking the start of a Teotihuacan-backed dynasty that would last until the 6th century. The Maya civilization was never a unified empire, but was rather organized into kingdoms or city-states, often engaging in conflicts with one another. This era was marked by the rivalry between the cities of Tikal and Calakmul, two powers sitting at the top of the pyramid, particularly in the late Classic. There are known to have been 3 major wars between the two powers, spanning across 2 centuries, from 537 until 744, which is a probable contribution to the collapse that would eventually happen. The Maya were great warriors, primarily using spears and darts in combat, but also bows and the atlatl, a spear thrower introduced into their culture by Teotihuacan, used to launch spears with more force and accuracy than with bare hands. Outside of the sphere of violence, trade was thriving, with the Maya even engaging with neighboring cultures, establishing merchant quarters in foreign cities. The Maya never used animals to transport goods or invented wheeled vehicles. They would walk, using tump lines to carry objects, while in coastal regions and rivers they used dugout canoes. Salt now became a valuable commodity. Cotton, highly farmed throughout the region, was used to make textiles that were further traded with other Mesoamerican societies. Even though less developed at this time, the city of Chichen Itza was renowned for its taste in luxury goods, acquiring gold discs and turquoise from Panama and Colombia, among others. However, it would rise to be the greatest city of the early post-Classic. We could say the Classic was the age of refinement, from writing and mathematics to religion and astronomy, all of which we'll discuss in detail later. Art was gaining ground and became a predominant part of their culture, almost exclusively concerned with the elite and their world, with the finest artifacts usually in the form of murals, pottery, and jade carvings. pottery wasn't limited to simple vessels, as archaeologists also found ceramic figurines, some hollow to include whistles or rattles, incense burners used in rituals, and effigy vessels, small containers in various forms to store ritual offerings or substances. It seems that the Maya were fans of vibrant colors, frequently used in fine art, probably due to the use of psychedelic substances, exhibiting a preference for the colors blue and green, using the same word for both colors. Did you know a popular form of art was graffiti? It can be found in pyramids from at least 50 cities incised into the stucco of interior walls, floors, and benches. Stucco was also used to create head sculptures, illustrating the close connection between gods and aristocracy, and for stunning decorations on walls, worth mentioning these large stucco masks observed at various sites across the Maya region. It wouldn't be wrong to say that architecture is a type of art when it comes to the Maya civilization, given the intricate and astonishing structures they left behind. Most of the pyramids were built throughout this period, featuring distinctive regional architectural styles. The city of Uxmal offers us a perspective of the Puuc style, with the Pyramid of the Magician in the center of the city. Palenque's Temple of the Cross and Temple of the Inscriptions grant us a view of the Usumacinta style, while the Temple of the Great Jaguar from Tikal reveals the Pictane style, allowing us to grasp the ingenuity and mastery of the Maya people. Although with origins in the pre-classic, in Maya culture there was a ritual ball game played with a rubber ball, with specially built eye-shaped ball courts found all over the realm, the majority of them dating to the classic. The stone ring, which you may notice at some of these courts, was an innovation of the post-classic period. Monuments, usually in the form of stelae and altars, often depict rulers, gods, or significant events and are accompanied by dates in the long count calendar. These large stone carvings can be observed in every major urban center, but we must credit Quirigua for its massive stele collection. Also the home of Stela E, the largest Maya monument ever erected, standing 26 feet above the ground and weighing 65 tons. City planning was the real art, showcasing the civilization's architectural skill and cultural grandeur with its interconnected temples, palaces, and causeways. One of the greatest unsolved mysteries in archaeology is the classic Maya collapse. Similar to the pre-classic collapse, it refers to the abandonment of major cities in the southern Maya lowlands, and we can only presume what happened. Recorded monuments were ordinary, and we notice a slowdown in their construction around the 8th century, completely halting by the year 900. Quirigua's last monument dates back to 810, Copan's to 822, Tikal's to 869. From the collapse of the trade routes to a foreign invasion of the Toltecs, all these theories don't answer all of our questions. Climate changes are found to be powerful forces shaping the ascension and collapse of civilizations throughout history. So, one of the most popular theories is a staggering 200-year mega drought, which forced them to abandon the cities and move to coastal regions. As a result, the Maya's greatest cities would be forgotten in the deep jungles for 1,000 years. Tikal would be rediscovered in 1848, Palenque in 1773, Calakmul in 1931, and the Maya civilization would never rise as high again. The post-classic period is a later resurgence of Maya culture, which saw the emergence of new centers of power beginning in the 10th century near permanent water sources, primarily in the northern Yucatan Peninsula and the highlands of Guatemala. It seems there's a trend at the beginning of each major period when it comes to foreign influence, as the Maya world was once again impacted by another civilization, this time by the Toltecs, whom the Aztecs claimed to descend from. The Toltecs flourished between the 10th and 12th centuries CE and are known for their impressive architectural achievements, most notably found in the ruins of their capital, Tula, featuring monumental pyramids and striking stone statues known as Atlanteans, depicting warrior figures. Such architectural styles can be observed at Chichen Itza, Mayapan, and Tulum, some of the most significant Maya cities of the period. Chichen Itza was the shining jewel of the early post-classic, featuring landmarks like the Temple of Kukulkan, the Great Ball Court, and El Caracol Observatory. However, it experienced a dramatic decline around the 12th century, similar to the fall of the Toltec Empire, further reflecting the bond between both worlds. Much like Chichen Itza, but with its apogee between the 13th and 15th centuries, Mayapan's architecture mirrors the style of Chichen Itza's structures, having its own Kukulkan temple and observatory. You've probably heard about the Maya codices, 4 in number, recognized as the Dresden, Madrid, Paris, and Grolier Codex. They are a hallmark of the current age. Despite this, the codices enlighten us with knowledge from the time of the Classic period, covering subjects such as astronomy, religion, agriculture, trade, and more. Speaking of trade, you may be surprised to learn that slave trading became a common practice. Just as gold and silver were used as currency in other parts of the world, the Maya developed cacao as their own currency, likely due to the influence of El Chua, the god of trade in cacao. Long-distance trade networks expanded significantly, and coastal cities like Tulum became vital trade hubs, facilitating the exchange of goods throughout Mesoamerica and beyond. Tulum, one of the last Maya cities to be built, achieved its greatest prominence between the 13th and 15th centuries, raising structures like El Castillo, a beacon for incoming canoes, the Temple of the Frescoes, an observatory tracking the movements of the sun, and the Temple of the Descending God, with numerous carvings depicting a descending deity. Even after Spanish contact, Tulum remained occupied for another 70 years, but it was inevitably abandoned by the end of the 16th century. Before we discuss the Spanish conquest, the most dramatic event in Maya civilization's history, let's take some time to explore this mysterious world almost forgotten. Long ago, when the world was new, only the gods existed, and their deepest wish was to create a beautiful world. They made the earth with mountains, valleys, rivers, and seas, and then designed the sky with the sun, moon, and stars. Still, something was missing, so they decided to create humans to enjoy and care for their creation. First, the gods tried making humans from mud, but the mud people were too weak. Then, they tried wood, but the wood people had no hearts and couldn't think or feel. Finally, the gods used sacred maize. The maize humans were perfect. They had hearts, could think, feel, and speak, and they were grateful to the gods for creating them. And so the world was complete, and the maize people lived in harmony with the earth and the heavens. This is Popol Vuh, the Maya creation myth, passed on verbally throughout generations until the 16th century when it was recorded in writing. Documented and translated by Francisco Jimenez in the 18th century, it is the equivalent of the Bible, also known as the Book of the Community. We know that the Maya world was an astounding place governed by divinity. Thus, religion was the most important aspect of this fascinating civilization. In the pre-classic, it was heavily inspired by the Olmecs, with shamans and priests acting as intermediaries between humans and the spiritual realm. Over time, religion underwent great changes, but at its core, it remained the same. In the classic period, the king took on the role of intermediary and became the high priest, often referred to as divine lord. From the beginning, the Maya have practiced rituals, a crucial element of religion and their everyday life. Their brutal ways of showing devotion to the gods were of the highest importance and usually involved the elite. Before wars, they prayed to Buluk Chabtan, not so much loved as he was feared, the god of war, violence, and human sacrifice. Devoted farmers, rituals played an important role in agriculture, especially during planting and harvesting times. During seasonal droughts, priests would perform rain-making rituals, praying to the rain god, Chak, with offerings, sacrifices, and dances. Although common in many Mesoamerican cultures, it is no secret that since ancient times, the Maya practiced rituals based on hallucinogenic drugs in an attempt to communicate with the underworld, heal illnesses, or embark on spiritual journeys. The use of mushrooms, morning glories, and water lilies was typical in such ceremonies. Yet it wasn't uncommon for these to be combined with bloodletting to enhance the effects. Perhaps one of the most unusual substances used was the poison collected from the skin of the cane toad, an extremely toxic substance, lethal in higher doses. The earliest artifacts related to psychedelic experiences are stone figures carved in the form of mushrooms, some as old as 3,000 years, supposedly linked to an ancient hallucinogenic mushroom cult. Divinity was associated with every aspect of their everyday life. Hence, the Maya pantheon includes hundreds of deities, such as the maize god or the god of nature. The highest of gods was Itzamna, creator of the world, who resided in the sky, sitting on his celestial throne while governing. In the Dresden Codex, he is portrayed as a terrestrial crocodile, bearing the name Itzam Earth Kaiman. Upon death, common people were buried underneath their homes, while the elite were placed in specially built funerary shrines. Death was not the end, but rather the beginning of a journey through the underworld and heavens to undergo trials and purification, overseen by Sizin, depicted as a skeletal figure, the most powerful god of death. The Maya strongly believed that cenotes served as gates to the underworld, often settling in their presence and practicing human sacrifices by throwing people into the water. The hero twins, the oldest Maya myth described in Popol Vuh, entered the underworld through a cenote, and the myth portrays the realm as a grim place, full of darkness and ruled by malevolent gods. Just as the Egyptians built pyramids to get closer to the gods, the Maya similarly raised pyramids above forest level to see the heavens. But that wasn't actually their only purpose. Pyramids also served as burial sites for the elite, the greatest example being the tomb of Pakal the Great, found in the Temple of the Inscriptions. The sarcophagus lid is a marvelous stone carving, while the tomb features many artifacts. Raising pyramids in the name of gods wasn't uncommon, and one such case is Chichen Itza's Temple of Kukulkan, built in honor of the feathered serpent god. During equinoxes, the shadow cast by the sun, combined with the head statue at the base of the temple, strongly resembles a serpent. Have you heard about the Tree of Life? It is a common concept found in many cultures and religions around the world. The Egyptians called it the Ished tree. In Islamic tradition, it is known as the Tree of Immortality. Christianity refers to it as the Tree of Life. Norse mythology named it Yggdrasil, and the list can go on. Each culture's version of the Tree of Life represents different aspects of existence, from immortality, eternity, and knowledge, to the interconnectedness of all things in the universe. The Maya referred to it as the World Tree, represented by the highly venerated Ceiba tree. According to creation myths, the gods planted the world tree in the center of the world, connecting the different realms of existence, the underworld, the earthly realm, and the heavens. It is closely associated with the Milky Way, whose appearance in the night sky was believed to be a representation of the world tree stretching across the heavens. The tree's roots were thought to descend into the underworld, while its branches reached up into the heavens, symbolizing the link between the terrestrial and celestial realms. Ever since the Maya looked up at the sky, they were enchanted and immediately assigned meaning to what they observed. The two prominent celestial figures were deified as Kinich, the sun god, and Ixchel, the moon goddess. Several myths encompass their relationship, with some saying they watch over the world of the living during the day and the underworld at night, while others claim the hero twins transformed into the sun and the moon. One thing is certain, their presence in the sky influenced Maya culture for thousands of years and was crucial to their understanding of the world. As civilization developed, so did their cosmological knowledge, conveyed through their works. That's why buildings were not randomly constructed, as we've previously seen at Chichen Itza. They followed a certain pattern. For instance, triadic pyramids resembled the Orion constellation and served as a way of commemorating the resurrection of the maize god. The Temple of the Sun at Palenque is aligned with the zenithal sun, and observatories, most notably El Caracol at Chichen Itza, tracked the sun and Venus in the sky. What is truly remarkable is that they never used complex tools to observe the universe. Their astronomy was based on naked-eye observations. They managed to identify and track Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn in the night sky, along with multiple constellations. As a reference, this is how an astronomer is portrayed in the Madrid Codex, featuring an elongated eye. When it comes to cosmic events, the Maya didn't miss the chance to bring the divine into the picture. Comets and meteors were extraordinary, ominous events, seen as messages from gods or ancestors. Lunar eclipses posed great danger to Ixchel, as the Maya believed the dark forces of the underworld were trying to devour her, threatening every aspect of life, as she symbolized fertility, childbirth, and medicine. Solar eclipses, often referred to as the broken sun, were accurately predicted with the use of sophisticated calendars and served as powerful omens that signaled changes of paramount importance. In mythology, Kinich was adored and had a brother named Chak-Ek, the morning star and a symbol of war, now known as the planet Venus. Upon solar eclipses, it was believed they were battling for supremacy in the heavens. The Maya were so eager to track Venus in the sky that they measured its solar orbit with an error of just 2 hours, better than any other ancient civilization back then. Since ancient times, Itzamna was often credited as the source of knowledge of astronomy, writing, and calendars. Even though calendars have roots in the pre-classic, in the classic era they were refined and fully integrated, becoming one of the most accurate calendar systems in history, even more precise than European calendars of that time. Several calendars were developed, but only 4 were primarily used, each with different purposes and lengths. For rituals and divination, they used the Tzolk'in calendar, a 260-day cycle. Renowned for their farming skills, they designed an agricultural calendar known as Hab, a 365-day system based on the solar cycle, which improved harvesting efficiency. The two were combined to form the calendar round, a cycle of almost 52 solar years used in both agriculture and religion. After 52 years, the cycle restarts, but it is not effective for recording older history. For longer periods, they use the long count calendar, whose dates are frequently found on stelae and other monuments, often accompanied by hieroglyphic texts describing historical and religious events. You might ask yourself, how does it look? Well, the Maya name for a day is kin. 20 days make up a winal. 18 winals form one tun, roughly equivalent to a year. 20 tuns are called a katun, and 20 katuns make a baktun, which is about 394 years. Like any other calendar, it has a starting date, known as the Maya creation, August 11th, 3114 BCE. Despite popular belief, the calendar doesn't have an ending, and this was the root of the misconception back on December 21st, 2012, when people thought it signified the end of the world. In reality, it was simply the completion of a cycle of 13 baktuns, and it is seen more as a time of renewal rather than an apocalypse. Often used alongside the other two, the long count calendar was impressively accurate, and some inscriptions include all 3 calendar systems. From the late classic onwards, an abbreviated form of the long count was usually used, the short count calendar found on Tikal's Altar 14 and other monuments. A number of supplementary series were also developed to complement the main calendar systems. Lords of the Night, a 9-day cycle with each night ruled by one of the underworld's gods. Lunar series, tracking and counting new moons, and an 819-day cycle found in the Dresden Codex. Writing was a complex set of glyphs painted on ceramics, walls, and paper codices, carved in wood and stone, or molded in stucco. People have tried deciphering the Maya script for centuries, soon after the Spanish conquest, with 3 notable figures making key contributions. Diego de Landa, a 16th century Spanish bishop, played a paradoxical role. While he infamously burned many Maya books in an attempt to eradicate their culture, he also documented the Maya script in one of his works, which later became a crucial resource. In the 1950s, Russian linguist Yuri Konorazov used Landa's work to make a groundbreaking discovery. He realized that glyphs could represent entire words, concepts, or syllables. Building on this, David Stewart, at the age of 15, made a critical breakthrough by showing that glyphs could have different meanings depending on context, explaining why the same word could be represented by different glyphs in different texts. Scribes were responsible for recording historical events, religious texts, or deeds of rulers, and only members of the elite could become one, with few exceptions. One of those exceptions was dwarves, whom the Maya saw as the living embodiment of the maize god's helpers, and they were therefore given noble statuses. Texts were typically composed of blocks arranged in 2-column layouts, read from left to right and top to bottom, continuing this pattern until all columns were completed. The Maya were great mathematicians, some arguing they were the world's most advanced at that point. Just like glyphs, we could see their numbers carved and painted everywhere. But what do these symbols mean? Dots represent numbers from 1 to 4, lines indicate the value of 5, and 0 is depicted by a shell. These symbols are thought to represent pebbles, sticks, and shells. objects that may have originally been used for counting. Maya codices are among the most significant remnants of their sophisticated writing system. Made from bark paper and coated with a lime-based wash, these codices were filled with detailed glyphs and illustrations. Unfortunately, due to the efforts of Spanish conquerors to erase indigenous cultures, only a few of these codices have survived. A 16th-century Dominican friar, Bartolomé de las Casas, expressed sorrow in one of his works upon discovering the mass destruction of such books. These books were seen by our clergy, and even I saw part of those that were burned by the monks, apparently because they thought it might harm the Indians in matters concerning religion, since at that time they were at the beginning of their conversion. The remaining 4 codices offer invaluable insights into Maya knowledge, beliefs, and daily life, serving as crucial resources for understanding this advanced civilization. The most detailed and well-preserved is the Dresden Codex, offering a remarkable glimpse into the Maya's advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. It is filled with intricate illustrations and complex calculations, including detailed charts of the movements of Venus, lunar cycles, and solar eclipses. The Codex also contains almanacs, divinatory calendars, and religious rituals, showcasing the Maya's deep connection with the cosmos and their sophisticated understanding of time. Next in line is the Madrid Codex, the longest and filled with vibrant illustrations. It offers insights into everyday life and agricultural cycles, as well as instructions for performing rituals to ensure a good yield. Shorter and less well-preserved, the Paris Codex still holds important information about prophecies, zodiacal information, and details related to the Maya calendar system, along with depictions of deities and what appear to be historical records of Maya rulers. The most controversial of them all is the Grolier Codex, featuring a series of pages depicting heroes and gods, but it hardly provides new details. Even though it is very challenging, new codices are yet to be discovered, as there are still uncharted and less explored areas within the Maya region, so who knows what the dense jungles are hiding. In 1502, 10 years after Christopher Columbus landed on the shores of the New World, his brother Bartholomew explored the island of Guanaja, Honduras, and encountered a large trading canoe from Yucatan. He seized the captain and looted the vessel, marking the first documented encounter between Europeans and the Maya. In 1511, the survivors of a shipwreck landed on the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula and were taken prisoners by a Maya lord. 5 of them, including the captain, Pedro de Valdivia, were sacrificed, and their flesh was feasted upon. More were sacrificed, and only 2 of them escaped. One of the 2, Gonzalo Guerrero, became a war leader and fought on the Maya side against the conquistadors until his death. Between 1517 and 1519, 3 figures are worth mentioning: Francisco Hernández de Córdoba, Juan de Grijalva, and Hernán Cortés, who set the stage for the upcoming conquest with their exploratory expeditions. Cortés in particular is famous for defeating the Aztec Empire by conquering its capital, Tenochtitlan, in 1521. The real conquest of the Maya would begin in 1524 with the fall of the Quiché and Tzutujil kingdoms. Spaniards were clearly superior in terms of weaponry, and that's one of the reasons they were able to conquer the Aztecs in only 2 years. While the Maya used bows, flint-headed spears, and 2-handed swords with obsidian edges, the Spanish invaders had steel blades, crossbows, and firearms such as muskets, arquebuses, and cannons. Mounted conquistadors were an extreme advantage, as the Maya had never seen horses before. The Maya's only major upper hand in terms of equipment was their highly efficient armor made out of quilted cotton and soaked in salt water, which could repel arrows, darts, and even lead musket shots, often preferred by Europeans over steel armor and chainmail. Not every Maya kingdom would be conquered outright. Some swore allegiance to the Spanish crown and fought against their own people, but they would be decimated by an enemy they couldn't see coming. Diseases brought from the Old World were more devastating than actual warfare, eliminating up to 90% of the population in some areas. Smallpox, tuberculosis, typhus, and other maladies were the true enemies of all Native Americans, not just the Maya, and were likely the key factor in the Spanish victory. By 1546, Due to the efforts of Francisco de Montejo and other conquistadors, most of the Yucatan Peninsula had been conquered, and new cities were established under Spanish control. Fast forward 150 years, and fierce battles would continue. Many Maya would convert to Christianity, and much of the native culture would be destroyed and burned. In 1697, Tayasal, located on an island in Lake Petén Itzá, modern-day Flores, was the capital of the last Maya kingdom to fall under European dominance after a brief but bloody battle. Spanish accounts from 1698 describe its pyramids as being very similar in design to the pyramids of Chichén Itzá and Mayapan. The fall of Tayasal marked the end of the last independent Maya city-state and the successful Spanish military conquest of the Maya civilization. However, many Maya people would survive and are present even today, maintaining their cultural practices, languages, and traditions.